Yevgeny Prigozhin is alive, exclusive video and details. On June 1st, 2026, Prigozhin begins a new march on Moscow. The Kremlin is deploying military equipment. Putin has already fled. He was tracked down in Kazakhstan. Next, he's escaping to China. This is the Vova Burn It Up project. Let's go!
I'm currently in Africa. So, for those of you who really love discussing my liquidation, my private life, my earnings, or honestly, whatever else, well, actually everything is completely fine. There is truly nothing to worry about.
Okay, calm down. This footage is actually from 2023. In it, war criminal Prigozhin reflects on death just a few days before his plane crash. Do you actually believe he died back then? Let us know in the comments.
You'd better just kill me. But I won't lie, I have to be honest. Russia is on the brink of a catastrophe.
Well, here's the thing. Info has surfaced that Prigozhin is alive. Putin failed to kill him. And it seems he'll appear in public. Yevgeny Prigozhin on June 1st, 2026, on the day of his 65th birthday, organizing a little gift for himself for his anniversary, so to speak. And maybe he'll march on the Kremlin again.
Unconfirmed reports are emerging that Prigozhin's death was, as many suspected, staged and about his presence. Currently in Venezuela, this topic is gaining more and more popularity. It's been actively picked up not only by Russian but also by Western media.
Now, I'm not sure if Putin's little chef is actually in Venezuela right now. I only know one thing for sure. Talk of Prigozhin being alive is becoming more and more frequent.
The photograph was taken yesterday evening. In Tel Aviv, a mysterious man left his shelter and went out into the street to watch the interceptions of Iranian missiles. Coincidence? Think about it.
Yes, there's certainly plenty to think about. First, Kirilo Budanov makes it clear he's not convinced of Prigozhin's death. We're not going to doubt, are we, that Kirilo Budanov knows a very, very lot.
A biographical moment from Prigozhin's life. Are you, by the way, convinced that he...
Okay, now let's refresh our memories on the official version of this Wagner terrorist's death. Well then, on June 23rd, 2023, Prigozhin begins his most famous march on Moscow.
Putin's power vertical turned out to be a facade. No one knew what to do. The security forces were idle. The National Guard vanished. The Kadyrovites were driving somewhere very slowly. The officials were hiding. The propagandists were hysterical. And Putin himself was so terrified that he just stayed silent for a long time.
Well, that's exactly how it was. It was only later, when Prigozhin and his thugs were just a short distance from Moscow, that a terrified Putin, pale with fear, recorded this famous video address of his.
This is precisely a betrayal. Excessive ambition and personal interests have led to treason. Treason against one's country, one's people, and the cause for which, side by side with our other units and divisions, the fighters and commanders of the Wagner Group fought and died.
Right, and then, when they were already very close to Moscow, Prigozhin suddenly turns his columns around and basically leaves Putin and the Kremlin alone. They say, by the way, that Lukashenko saved Putin from being dealt with by the Wagnerites. That's the story.
Actions that split our unity are, in essence, an apostasy from one's own people, from brothers in arms who are currently fighting at the front. It is a stab in the back.
Yes, the march on the Kremlin eventually fizzled out. And even then it became absolutely clear that Prigozhin was a dead man walking. The vengeful and cowardly, nasty little Putin still lets Prigozhin return to Moscow. But then on August 23rd, 2023, this happens.
In these frames, you can see the plane falling without a wing. It broke apart in midair, evidently from an external impact. Later, parts of the aircraft were found several kilometers from the crash site.
And Putin, of course, is right there, pleased, with a smirk, thinking, that's it, the Prigozhin issue is closed, and now he can offer condolences to the relatives, to give himself an alibi.
Regarding this tragic aviation disaster, first of all, I would like to sincerely express my deepest and most heartfelt condolences to the families and loved ones of all the victims. My thoughts and sympathies are truly with everyone affected by this terrible event. It is always a tragedy. I would like to note that these are people who made a significant contribution to our common cause of fighting the neo-Nazi regime.
And you know, immediately after the plane crash, it becomes clear that something is fishy about this whole story. Oh, very fishy. There are so many questions. Let's listen to Professor Solovey.
Yevgeny Prigozhin was warned that the plane would be attacked, and he was not on the plane. So don't believe the reports that Prigozhin's body has supposedly been identified. There's nothing even close to that.
Well, you know, it all sounds very plausible. The thing is, foreigners were not allowed to investigate the causes of the crash. Well, because it's obvious to everyone there were explosives on board, and that's how Putin killed Prigozhin. But the official Kremlin versions of the plane crash's causes, well, they're truly a laughingstock. Listen.
The version of a sudden technical malfunction of the plane, or the even more ridiculous one about careless handling of a grenade.
I wonder, did they spend a long time coming up with that? Regarding the highly experienced military specialists who were on board.
You know, I think this nonsense was invented by either Peskov or a hungover Medvedev. And then even stranger things start happening at Yevgeny Prigozhin's funeral.
Today, at the Porokhovskoye cemetery in Petersburg, the founder of Wagner PMC, Yevgeny Prigozhin, was secretly buried. I should note that significant activity was observed today at several cemeteries in St. Petersburg, as well as in the city itself. At the same time, all the preparations were shrouded in mystery.
But the Kremlin failed to keep the main secret of Prigozhin's funeral. And here is what it's about. After Prigozhin's funeral, his body double's wife was spotted at the cemetery. Now I'll tell you the details. Look here. This one on the left. Leonid Krasavin, the man who for many years played the role of Prigozhin's body double. Well, body doubles in the Kremlin are a whole other topic. I think you know what I mean. So, the day after Yevgeny Prigozhin's funeral, Leonid Krasavin's wife, that is, the double's wife, was found at his grave. And naturally, information emerged that it was actually Prigozhin's double on that plane that crashed, not the original. And the wife logically came to the cemetery to say goodbye to her husband. But as for where Putin's real little chef is, where the real Yevgeny Prigozhin is, that question remains open to this day.
Could the cunning and wealthy Prigozhin have staged his own death, fooled everyone, and gotten away with it?
Yes, of course he could. And that is exactly what Vladimir Putin is terrified of. Especially after the so-called people's governor of the Donetsk region, Gubarev, went on Dud's show and told the whole world this.
Who killed Prigozhin?
Well, I think there is no death. Everyone is alive.
And that's when, as they say, things kicked off. You understand, Prigozhin's mutiny, his cutthroats near Moscow? For a pathological coward like Putin, it all became a nightmare that almost came true.
A coup in the Kremlin is Putin's biggest fear, writes the Telegraph. Putin fears losing control over the transfer of power. A scenario similar to the Wagner PMC mutiny in 2023 has become a long-term source of fear within the system.
Yes, and that very fear inside Putin's twisted brain has become so great that he's finally losing his mind. He's just shaking like a leaf. At the mere thought that Prigozhin is alive and could march on Moscow again with his army. And now listen to how Putin is losing it over this. Next, information from the Kremlin Snuffbox Telegram channel. Security forces haven't determined yet if Prigozhin is alive. They might have to dig up the grave. We wrote, after an interview with the former People's Governor of the DNR, Pavel Gubarev, the FSB, SVR, and other agencies began checking rumors that Yevgeny Prigozhin is alive. We found out how that verification process is going. It's difficult so far. There are many points indicating that Prigozhin is dead, but there are also very serious hints that he didn't perish. We're investigating but can't give a clear answer yet, our FSB source said. He doesn't rule out that if the investigation drags on, they'll have to dig up Prigozhin's grave and perform an exhumation. God, what nonsense. I remember, it's the 21st century.
I knew Prigozhin for a very long time. Since the early 1990s. He was a man of a complicated fate.
Yes, and word is that this man of a complicated fate, war criminal, enemy of Ukraine, multimillionaire, having laid low somewhere warm, might as early as June 1st, 2026, on his birthday once again. Appear in public, so to speak, rise from the dead and march on Moscow again. Only this time more successfully, having secured the support of Shoigu and Patrushev, who also, as you know, want to overthrow Putin. So shall we grab some popcorn and wait?
We're working. The temperature is plus 50. Just the way we like it.
But what about Putin himself, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. So today you've already learned that Prigozhin's double likely died. But Putin's fakes are alive and doing just fine. What do I mean? Look at what low-level officials in the Kremlin call Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. For some reason, they call him Palich. What is that? A new code word for the double? Listen, I'm not making this up.
Six, how's it going? Sewing started?
Polish, thank you very much.
No, Palich is of course very serious. And here's another double nicknamed the Burrer. Instead of hooray, he says hule hule.
Hooray. Hooray. Hooray.
By the way, I think the Kremlin doesn't even hide the fact that it wasn't the real Putin who flew to visit Tokayev in Kazakhstan, but one of the doubles. Look, just recently the Kremlin has been showing showy footage where Putin's plane and the nasty little Putin himself land in Kazakhstan. This is all very sweet, of course. But as they say, there's a catch. 2 hours after Putin landed in Kazakhstan, the Kremlin publishes a video where the bunker moth is sitting, traditionally in that very bunker, congratulating everyone on Border Guards Day. How does that even happen, huh?
Dear comrades, I congratulate the personnel, civilian staff, and veterans of the border service of the Russian FSB on this holiday.
Well, anyway, it's clear. Putin, he's not just afraid to leave Moscow, he's afraid to leave the Kremlin. So they sent a body double to Tokayev. I see, the geostrategist, the supreme commander-in-chief. And by the way, Putin's visit to Astana is a whole other story. Just before this, he published a little article of his in the Kazakh press. And basically, he started threatening Kazakhstan.
His article was published in the Kazakh press yesterday, stating that Russia has invested nearly $30 billion in the country's economy. But more importantly, over 80% of all Kazakhstan's oil exports pass through Russia. One valve in Novorossiysk and Astana's economy will take a serious hit.
Well, yeah, those are real threats. And honestly, serious talk about Moscow potentially going to war with Astana has been around for quite some time now.
Some people believe that in the future we want to seize northern Kazakhstan from them following the so-called Ukrainian scenario. What do you think? Did we have such plans? Are we counting on that?
I believe that we have historical rights to these lands.
Unbelievable. Kazakh military experts are right. Oh, they're right to say it's time to prepare for guerrilla warfare.
So we need to lose all these illusions right now, once and for all, and stop thinking that since Ukraine has resisted for 4 years and we're 3 times smaller than Ukraine, we'll resist for maybe a year and a half. Nothing of the sort. That is, every one of us needs to prepare for guerrilla warfare.
Well, and in Kazakhstan itself, they recently voted for a new constitution, and consequently, they downgraded the status of the Russian language. And that's a very sore subject for Putin. We Ukrainians know that better than anyone. By the way, Tokayev has always loved and still loves to troll Putin about this.
Kazakhstan is practically a Russian-speaking country.
Dear Vladimir Vladimirovich, dear colleagues, first of all, I would like to express my great gratitude to you, dear Mr. Vladimir Vladimirovich, for accepting my invitation.
And of course, Putin didn't fly to Astana for no reason. What Eurasian Forum? What are you talking about? He came to get revenge on Tokayev. There have long been rumors that Putin wants to overthrow Tokayev and replace him with his buddy, Nursultan Nazarbayev. Good lord, how much more of this?
Tokayev spoke about Putin's meetings with Nazarbayev. The December meeting between Nursultan Nazarbayev and Vladimir Putin seems to be the second one this past year. The first meeting in early autumn was not reported in the media. They apparently meet as longtime friends and colleagues. They have a lot to look back on.
Well, you know what? Putin's efforts on the Kazakh front are failing and will continue to fail. And do you know why? The thing is, Tokayev outplayed the bunker dweller long ago. Kazakhstan is doing business, with whom? That's right, with China. This is a very clever and strategic move by Tokayev. To go against Tokayev, when Russia's master Xi Jinping is on great terms with him, well, Putin won't even dare to flinch.
China never imposes any political conditions in its cooperation with Kazakhstan. We value your unwavering support for our sovereignty and security guarantees. We support China's peace initiatives and highly value your country's key role in building a just world order.
As for Putin's visit to Astana, there's a very telling moment that shows the Kazakh people's attitude toward this war criminal. By the way, we have many subscribers from Kazakhstan. Hello to everyone there. This is Kazakh activist Marat Januzakov. He's showing the Kazakh leadership the basic truth that they shouldn't host Putin, that vile little man. He's showing exactly how to welcome Pinya and his company. Just look at this poster. It clearly says, "Hey scum, get lost out of Kazakhstan." Glory to Ukraine. Glory indeed. What else do I want to say? Putin is being cornered like a cockroach. Of course, the armed forces of Ukraine are doing this best. But it seems a rebellion is brewing even among the so-called Russian elites. According to The Guardian, there is growing disillusionment with Putin among the elite due to the long war in Ukraine and Russia's economic decline. Moreover, protests against Putin are starting across Russia even among ordinary citizens. Can you even imagine such a thing? And we're not just talking about the provinces. Protests are starting in Moscow. Here's a specific case. What are you doing? Let me go. Let me go immediately. Let me go right now. They say that supposedly on the basis of people are protesting because their park is being cut down and they're immediately thrown into police vans. How very Putin-like.
This girl was just filming what was happening in Kuntsevo on her phone. In the end, she and several others were taken to the police station at night. The law enforcement officers acted harshly.
And do you know what the fuss is about? Why is this park in Moscow being cut down? Because a military facility will be built in its place.
A military facility is being built. What else do you need explained?
Fine. Where's info on a military facility being built?
Take them all to the station, they'll explain it there.
What's going on? Everything's a mess again, and Ukraine is to blame for it all, right?
It's from this direction that Ukrainian drones have been attacking the capital lately. And if you look at Moscow's air defense map, you can see gaps in the defenses right there in the west.
And actually, the story here is quite funny. This park is located in the Kuntsevo district of Moscow. And from this district, they even have a representative in the State Duma of the Russian Federation. Do you know who it is? Evgeny Skobe. Well, I mean Evgeny Popov, Skabeyeva's little husband.
Hello, dear friends. We're in the area, in Philly Park, looking at the improvements. Work is underway here. There'll be a new sports court right in the yard. Everything will be beautiful.
Popov certainly doesn't care about parks or forests right now. He doesn't even care about his Skabeyeva. His task right now is to kiss Putin's backside. And on this occasion, patriotic Russians even decided to record a whole appeal to Sobyanin, the mayor of Moscow. How naive.
Dear Sergei Semyonovich, we, residents of Moscow, residents of Kuntsevo, are reaching out to you with a request. The thing is, on May 22nd, without any announcements, on the night of May 22nd to 23rd, they started cutting down our forest.
As you can see, Putin is being smeared on all fronts. And now the armed forces of Ukraine have given the Russians this.
Let me talk a little bit about what makes a good morning.
It was very loud.
Yes, it's heating up all over Russia, from Voronezh to Tuapse. And in Crimea, the Black Sea Fleet headquarters was hit again. No, by what? Storm Shadow. Well, one could say a lot about the successes of the Ukrainian military, but instead of 1,000 words, I'll show you footage from Tuapse. It's like a new Chornobaivka for the Russians, and they won't be able to wash themselves clean of this new Chornobaivka, literally. Did you order a fuel oil swimming season? Here it is, sign for it.
But the sea...
Hey, how is this even possible? How's the sea? Great. White sand, you said, right?
My legs. Look at my legs.
How are you going to wash now?
That's exactly what I'm thinking about right now.
Come on, go to the pool.
And he really should go to a pool, but I think even in the Tuapse pools there might be fuel oil. Well, that's all for today, friends. Everything will be Ukraine. Bye.